everyone. Welcome to join 2020 Global Youth Trend webinar held by the Youth Development of Administration, Ministry of Education in Taiwan. I'm Annie. I'm the host of today. And I'm also the founder and the chairman of City Wanderer, which is a youth empowerment organization, just like all the other panelists today. Today, I'm so honored to moderate this webinar with several young leaders to talk and discuss how to live together in a time of pandemic and the digital technology. Today, we are not only sharing this event on Cisco. I know we have already a lot of participants on Cisco already. We will also live streaming sharing this webinar on YouTube. So feel free to share the link of YouTube with all your friends. Let's make this discussion more interactive. So today, we have a lot of participants from a lot of different countries, including many participants from Taiwan and all the other countries in different parts of the world. So we are not only here to listen to the panelists, we also want to listen to the participants, I mean you. So therefore, we prepare several questions for each one of you to answer and sharing your experience and your life stories with all of us. So here's all the question, and later on you can share your answer in the chat box. The questions are, how did COVID-19 impact your life, and how did you tackle it? How did you deal with it? So that's the first question. We all wonder like how your life is impacted by the virus. So if you want to share more, we also wonder from your perspective, how could the youth work together to prevent the next pandemic without borders with the global partnership? That would be the second question that we want to discuss with each one of you. So later on, feel free to answer the question in the chat box. And while you are answering the questions, let me briefly introduce our panelists today. So firstly, we have Sephora. Sephora is the director of community of One Young World. And this platform is a global forum for young leaders. And we also have Lord from World Youth Alliance. He is the president of World Youth Alliance. And this platform, World Youth Alliance, aims to build dignity of human and also solidarity among the youth. So the third panelist is Giovanna. Giovanna is the board member of European Youth Forum. European Youth Forum is one of the biggest youth organizations in Europe. And later on, we will hear a lot of inspiring sharing from Giovanna. And the last panelist, who is the only Taiwanese delegate today, Jia You. Jia You is the founder of Taiwan Digital Diplomacy Association. She's the founder and also the chairman of this association. This association uses strategy marketing to reach Taiwan and the whole world by social media, including Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. That's what we are all using today. And she used these amazing tools to make connection virtually very successful. So today we have 4 outstanding sharing panelists to share their perspective about what global youth can do together to prevent the next pandemic. And they will share a lot of good actual cases with all of us. So let's start from Sephora. Let's welcome Sephora's sharing.
Hi, my name is Sephora Biglari. I'm the Director of Community at One Young World. For those of you who don't know what One Young World is, we are the Global Forum for Young Leaders. So we represent a community of 12,000 One Young World ambassadors in over 190 countries. We're working across every issue area you can possibly imagine. We really are on a mission to identify, promote, and connect the world's most impactful young leaders, because we believe that they're the most educated, connected, and action-oriented generation our history has ever seen. So, of course, in the wake of the pandemic, which, of course, has affected different parts of the world in completely different ways, we felt the brunt of it with our community because they were in excessive need to get support to the most vulnerable, to ensure that they could continue their work at a time where businesses were closing, jobs were being lost, vital lifelines were being cut off. And so we felt that we need to mobilize and support our community, who we work with throughout the year, to provide them with growth opportunities, to legitimize them as leaders, to provide them with platforms and programs and funds that can really help accelerate their work. So in the wake of all of this, we founded COVID-19 Young Leaders Fund. So we established this as we knew, as soon as the pandemic started to emerge in early 2020 and even late 2019, that they are the ones who are on the front lines, as I mentioned, who have the most innovative methods of addressing the most challenging of circumstances and actually working on a first-hand basis. They are that last mile provider. So we felt the need to get money into the hands of those leaders who often are passed over or don't get access to that funding or capital that a lot of bigger, more established organizations get. And so we knew that we needed a global response, that this pandemic, as I mentioned, it has affected every country, every region differently, but we felt the global nature of this groundswell, either in prevention or direct response. And so here we are, we mobilized this fund because there was a dire need to do so. And so we knew that we surveyed them, that many of them didn't support their government's response or didn't feel like they were responding adequately enough. And we have seen record levels of volunteering in such a short period of time in the UK, where One Young World is based, and beyond that. So we felt that they are, the most well-positioned to understand the needs of their constituents, and they deliver. So we have been reporting on impact of the One Young World community since 2010, and they have impacted 26 million since. And I would say that is a conservative estimate. So we know once you get the resource into their hands, they will deliver for us. So we saw the urgent needs in specific areas. We knew, again, that we were guided by certain principles of the frontline workers, that no one should be left behind, but also that the money needs to be invested prudently and with transparency. And that is a great challenge of our generation as well, is the monitoring and evaluation. And I will come to that in a moment. But really the three pillars of this fund: urgent, utilitarian, underserved, as I've mentioned. So we also, as I mentioned, monitoring evaluation is, of course, a huge part of any of these activities. So we wanted to adapt, to be fast, to be agile. So we designed a whole method of communication with them, which would allow them to send pictures and videos and data and information in real time on an easy basis, which we would process as a team to remove the burden from them, because we know there is no shortage of paperwork when it comes to this normally. So we wanted to get the resource in the hands of those who needed it. So we started working with partners to raise those funds. And we have since provided over $265,000 so far. We have more grant recipients on the way, some receiving secondary funds. And so we see that impact really reaching thousands already. And this is only with less than $500,000. And this is tangible impact that we have seen. So we have really seen our position kind of emerge as a convener, but as a bridge and a mobilizer of action. So just a little snapshot. We have those across Nigeria providing personal protective equipment to doctors whose funding has been cut, supporting victims of domestic abuse during this period. Again, providing support to the most vulnerable. So to women, to provide economic opportunity, to keep putting food on the table for their families, to provide water and hygiene solutions in the most vulnerable communities in as far as Colombia for those who have been displaced by the civil war, for those in Afghanistan, where employment is typically not offered to women, or it's very difficult for them to secure employment, having them be part of this COVID sanitation fight. And the list goes on, supporting refugee families, doctors, And so we're so proud to see this work all come to life. So we urge you to support more young leaders, to invest in their capacity, and to ensure that we can actually deliver the support to those who can help us. In terms of what young people can do to prevent the next pandemic, first and foremost, demand investment in healthcare provision and scenario planning for future pandemics. Of course, this hasn't necessarily been needed in Taiwan because there has been such a strong response to COVID. But for many of us in other countries, governments have been ill-prepared and ill-equipped to handle the ramifications of a pathogen like the COVID virus. Also use your voice. You're an important communicator, so use it to communicate science, trusted information, and make sure you help build trust in the institutions that are there to protect us and to support us with vital information, like the World Health Organization. We also need talent pipelines of young people to work in the different areas that have a key stake in COVID-19 and future pandemic responses. So researchers, scientists, programmers, engineers, we need a groundswell of talent to really become invested into the next digital transformation that will help us track and mitigate and prevent future viral spreads. Also, from an education point of view, please learn more about the link between the wildlife trade and pandemics. They have emerged, the trade has emerged as a key driver of emerging pathogens. And so please do look into this, understand your government policies on wildlife trade, and understand that link between conservation and climate-related factors to the spread of viruses globally. And most importantly, do not leave the most vulnerable behind. As the Gates Foundation's latest report presented, 25 years of progress has been set back in 25 weeks, and we cannot let that increase. We can't let hunger and poverty to go on the rise. We need to continue to provide economic opportunity in the most vulnerable parts of the world. The data doesn't necessarily provide a nice picture at the moment, but we can absolutely turn back this tide, and we need each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sephora, for this really touching and amazing sharing. I have read the details about the project that Sephora just shared with us. And Sephora also shared the link with all of us. If anyone wants to know more details about the COVID-19 Young Leaders Fund, please check the website that Sephora just shared with us. And if you have any question about what Sephora just mentioned, also feel free to leave the question in the chat. We will circle back to the question in the end of the webinar. So thank you, Sephora, again. And then let's welcome Lord to share your perspective.
Hello everyone, it's great to see so many young people taking part in today's webinar. First, I'd like to thank the Youth Development Administration of Taiwan for inviting me and the World Youth Alliance to join today's panel. My name is Lord Leomar Pomperada, and I'm currently the president of the World Youth Alliance. As a brief introduction, the World Youth Alliance is a global youth movement of over 1 million members in over 200 countries and territories all around the world, with a mission of promoting the dignity of the person through policy and culture. A large part of our work is educating our members about human dignity. The World Youth Alliance Charter recognizes that the intrinsic dignity of the person is the foundation of every human right. This dignity is not earned and cannot be taken away. It is inherent in every human being from the earliest moments. Human rights are an authentic expression of solidarity, which is the spirit of brotherhood, recognized in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. This solidarity enables us to recognize that human flourishing can only be realized through cooperation with others. This mutual cooperation is the common good. Solidarity is built on the use of freedom to willfully recognize fundamental human needs, desires, and rights to authentically pursue their fulfillment for all persons. Freedom is not simply a lack of restraint when it is exercised solely for selfish ends, is radically incomplete. Freedom must be exercised with reason and conscience. The Universal Declaration on Human Rights calls for. We at the World Youth Alliance believe that the freedom of the human person is most fully and rightly lived and a gift of ourselves to others. The theme of this year's Global Youth Trends Forum is Global Partnership, living together in the time of pandemic and digital technology. I think this is a very important and relevant topic for all of us to talk about today. I'd like to share some of the initiatives that our organization and members have led this past couple of months to support the youth and bring young people together in solidarity during this challenging time. First is through our training programs. One of them is the Certified Training Program, a free online course that helps young people learn more about human dignity and human rights. During the start of the pandemic, we had over 200% increase in our global enrollment and a high attendance in our weekly online classes all around the world. This shows the eagerness and commitment of young people to participate in online classes during the time of the pandemic, as well as to meet other youth leaders. Another training is the Advocacy Academy, which is a free training course that equips young people with the knowledge and skills to promote human dignity through policy and advocacy work. Second is through our cultural initiatives. Our WIA chapters and members around the world organize various cultural events to bring young people together to celebrate art and culture. I'd like to highlight two of these activities. First is the WIA Culture Fest, an online cultural fair where WIA members from around the world showcase their culture through dances, music, and art. The second is the Virtual Africa Arts Forum, where our African youth leaders and young artists share their art and discuss the role that culture plays in the promotion of the human person. Third is through our blog. WIA members wrote reflections about COVID 19, about their fundraising projects, and some of the ways on how to overcome the stress brought about by the pandemic. These stories have allowed our members to express themselves and to share the inspiring stories to other YI members and young people all around the world. One of them wrote, as young people, we are living a very different technological era. Generations like those of our parents or grandparents had few friends or very small circles. However, there are days where I wonder if true friends exist. If close friends are one like more our acquaintances in adventures, how do we identify those true friends? As young people, we should try to cultivate and find real friendships, get to know people and their true value. What is the use of having thousands or millions of followers or friends online if at the end of the day they feel lonely and have no one to vent or healthily have fun, talk about any subject without falling into offense, or the simple fact of having a good time together without being uncomfortable? We should go out to meet friends. Consider that true friends do not remain only in social networks. They transcend, and even though they do not talk to each other daily, they will be there when they are needed. Isn't that something that every young person like you and me could relate to? Having really good friendships, especially during this time of the pandemic. To make the most out of the pandemic, young people can use this time to equip themselves with the necessary skills and training to prepare themselves for the world post COVID 19. The second issue of the World Economic Forum's Future of Jobs report predicts that there's going to be a loss of 75 million jobs by 2025, but it also predicts the creation of 133 million jobs thanks to the digital revolution. Active learning, learning capabilities, and creativity will make a difference and climb up the ranking of most in demand skills for 2022. Leadership abilities and emotional intelligence will keep being prominent. Computational thinking and programming will also become crucial. Second, it will be important for governments around the world to invest in the potential of young people to contribute to nation building. Webinars like this are great ways for young people to receive training and to network with their fellow young people. At the World Youth Alliance, we support investing in human capital, which means using our resources to ensure human flourishing. Investing in youth will pay dividends in what we contribute to our shared goals and authentic development. Living together and building friendships online during this pandemic can be very challenging. However, our members have shown us that building friendships knows no boundaries, especially with the development in digital technologies. When I work with our members, I feel so inspired that really we can make a difference in the world. Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor, once said that the last freedom is the freedom to choose our attitude. I'd like to end with a quote from a blog of one of our former interns. I quote, "We must recognize that locked up in our homes, infected or not, we continue to be free and preserve that dignity. We must not consider ourselves prisoners of a virus, just like that some of the prisoners in the concentration camps experience. We have to choose an attitude beyond our circumstance, demonstrating attitudes of solidarity not only with our loved ones, but also solidarity with the whole world." Thank you very much for your kind attention, and to Taiwan's Youth Development Administration for having me. I look forward to continuing our conversation in the open forum later.
Thank you, Lord, for introducing so many diverse approaches of youth empowerment to all of us. Just like you mentioned that we should invest more in youth, I also see there's comments from the chat. There's a participant called Yuan Yuan Li. She said, I believe youth is the power. We have vision, strength, we can collaborate and brainstorm for helping the challenge which are facing now and find out solution to prevent the next pandemic. I think all of us all agree that the youth is a really important foundation of the society, just like Sephora also mentioned that. Like once you empower the young leaders, we can really create a lot of impact. So later on, we will have Giovanna to share your perspective to all of us. Let's welcome Giovanna.
Hello from my side. I'm really very honored to be with you today. I'm the board member of the European Youth Forum. European Youth Forum is the umbrella organization for European youth organizations. We have more than 105 youth organizations representing youth all over Europe. Our main goals are fights for youth rights, promotion of the importance of having youth participation in different levels of social work. We have been working a lot during the beginning of pandemic to try to get to young people and to understand for them to get better in this crisis, to understand what are the crises that we are facing and also to try to help them to overcome the current situation. We definitely have to say that the sudden and devastating impacts of the coronavirus pandemic turned all our lives into completely different way. In this new and really unprecedented reality, we had to adopt quickly and to find ways to show our support and solidarity with each other. For youth organizations across Europe, their work didn't stop. In fact, it became more important than ever before. Throughout the pandemic, youth organizations, civil society have been among those who were at the front line of the helping in the others who were most vulnerable in this situation, providing key services, guidance, and support. The European Youth Forum, as the biggest platform of youth organizations in Europe, has played a very significant role in continuing to support our members, reacting quickly to provide information and resources. At the same time, our work in advocating European decision makers to recognize the needs of young people and young organizations has become increasingly urgent as the long-term economic and social impact of COVID-19 becomes more apparent. So now I will share with you what are some of the things that we did in the recent times. One of our biggest actions, or the first steps that we did at the beginning of the pandemic, is the campaign Separated by United. This is what we actually try to do to establish space for all our membership to share their best practices and to promote their important initiatives. Under the very well-known now banner separated by United, we used our platform to share examples of how our member organizations and partners were leading the way in providing critical information, promoting important messages, and supporting their communities. We endeavor to provide our members with tools, resources, information, and subscriptions to have them operate online in these really very challenging times, including an online event toolkit, which could also be found on our website. We were also pleased to be able to work with the European Commission and the European Youth Foundation to identify specific funding opportunities for young people in this really very big crisis. We also had to be disappointed not to have many of our events to happen in the offline regime due to coronavirus, where we have to cancel all of our events. But we definitely stayed current with the events which we organized online. Definitely, it's also important that we have to tackle that we try to have the constant communication with our member organizations and to share their experience. This is also what we did last week when we had our General Assembly for the first time in the online edition. This is the way we're discussed with all the member organizations across Europe about the main topics and the main issues the young people in the different countries were facing. We have to say that the corona crisis is really affecting in different ways people all around the world, and definitely I really have to congratulate you on your very good response that you have in Taiwan, but unfortunately it's not in the same way in Europe. We are facing a lot of issues. First of all, it's really a health crisis, which also has a big impact on the lives of young people. Everyday activities, for instance, going to school, to faculties, education is completely changed, but also the social activities. This is also what happens. We have to take in mind the situation about the mental health of young people. This means that we have to give support, we have to speak to all our member organizations, but also to have the panels like this to emphasize the importance of how young people have to continue being strong, not only in healthy perspective, but also in the mental state. I'm really very happy to hear that my fellow panelists also shared, thank you, Lord, for that, very good perspective on the social and emotional aspect of this crisis. I think it's also very, very important because we all have to be together in this situation and try to help each other in the current crisis. Next to that, we also have to be aware of the impact on, for instance, some very good tools, which are, for instance, online. We also need to have in mind that the online is a very good tool and we are happy to have it. But in my community, we have noticed that too much of online work has also influenced a lot on the mental health of young people. The sense of being present at any moment of the day, it's also something that gives a bit of burden for young people in their development. I'm really very happy that we have the opportunity to cooperate and to have to share our experiences, but it is also important that we all stay united in this fight, because this fight will continue. And after the pandemic is finally over, we will have to think about the post-pandemic work, which will be very, very important for young people. Next to the situation that we have to provide the good fundings for our work, which will be also a good question how it's going to develop in the future. I also think that the cooperation we have is crucial, and that we have to continue to be strengthening to each other, to share our experiences and try to implement all the good practices that we have in our countries with our fellows all around the world. This is a very big fight, but I am very sure that young people are the ones who will definitely be the ones who will get the best from this pandemic, because they will be the ones who will learn a lot. And I think that they will be the ones who will be the strongest in our communities, who will give their example for the other ones, how we should behave and what we can do to overcome the crisis altogether. Thank you.
Thank you, Giovanna. Thank you for pointing out that the mental health issue and the social difficulties that we are facing today. And I believe that just like Lauren mentioned that finding the real true friendship is a really important dimension to youth. And later on, we will have Jiayou to share. I think I have known Jiayou for a while, and she's kind of like the expert on socialing on the internet through the social media. So let's welcome Jiayou to share her experience on how to use the social media to make a better connection between countries and countries. Let's welcome Jiayou.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jiayou from Taiwan Digital Diplomacy Association. And what our association do is we are trying to connect Taiwan with other foreign community, basically through social media. And I would like to use one example to explain our association's job and also what is digital diplomacy. Last year, Solomon has break the diplomatic ties with Taiwan, unfortunately. And last year, our association, what we are trying to do is we try to send a message to the Solomon fan pages. And there's one fan page of Solomon. They help us to post a message about, even though the Solomon government and Taiwanese government has break the diplomatic relation, but the civil society can still be the friends together. So below the post, because it's a Solomon fan page, so many Solomon people come to leave comments and share their feelings and what they think about this event with each other. And many Taiwanese also comes to leave comments below this post. So internet is a very interesting place that everyone in the world, we gather together on internet, even though maybe you have never been to Solomon before, but you can talk to Solomon people and share your feelings with each other on Facebook. This is something really exciting. And also, I think social media is a tool for young people in the world to share each other's value during the pandemic, especially. And I think social media can achieve 4 different things on international cooperation. And the first is data collection, because everyone has a social media account. So you can know whose opinions it is, and also you can see which post has the most like. Maybe this is the most popular topic in their countries. And the second is communication strategy, because on internet we want to share value with each other, and also we want to deliver our message or information to people around the world. So we have to think about what are the topics that other countries' people cares the most, and through opening fan pages and operating for long term, you can build trust with each other. And also, if you have a good content on your fan page, maybe someone will see your content, and if they are interested in, they can contact you and open a new partnership through social media. And digital diplomacy, what we are trying to do is building trust within Taiwan and other countries. The first step is we try to create impression of each other, and the second is we try to find a common topic and create attractive content. And then through long-term operating of the fan pages or Instagram, we started to build trust with each other. Another example of our association is in 2018, we started our first project in Kosovo. Before we started this project in Kosovo, we do a lot of research on social media. Now, I would say we use Facebook like using Google, because when we try to understand how Kosovo people's lives looks like, or how can we communicate with them, we use Instagram, YouTube, and also we talk to many people on internet through Facebook. And after I arrived Kosovo, I started to do interview with local people and also visit local institutions to know more about their internet habit and also what are the topics they care the most. And after a couple months, we found that Kosovo young people, they care the most about their digital development. So I invited like 20 young Taiwanese people to show their support about Kosovo's international recognition and also their digital development. And it has got 30,000 views in Kosovo. It becomes a very popular video. And because the video raised a lot of voice on internet, so their governments started to pay attention to this campaign that collaborate with by Taiwanese young people and Kosovo young people. So I realized that if we collect enough voice on internet, you can also connect government from different countries together. And yes, also medias, because it's a new project, and also it is the most popular project, the most popular topics that Kosovo young people cares about. So we were invited to be on the medias of Kosovo as well. And in 2019, we went to Vietnam. We started kind of the same thing, but this time we focused on the medical topic of Vietnam. We invited Taiwanese and Vietnamese doctors to share free medical knowledge on Facebook. And this year, we also assist about 200 Vietnamese parents to apply for Taiwanese medical aid, because that has followed the fan page for a long time, and they have the trust with this platform. And in 2020, because of the pandemic, we focused more on the foreign community in Taiwan. For example, we started to visit embassies, all the embassies in Taiwan, and to think about how can we collaborate together, and what is their demand as a foreigners in Taiwan. And you know, Taiwan also has online system for ordering masks this year. But foreigners in Taiwan, they don't really know how to use it. So we shoot a short movie to teach foreigners how to get masks online. And this May, there's another interesting event that we had hold a Norwegian National Day Parade. The National Day Parade, why we host it is because of the pandemic, the Norwegian, they cannot have a parade for their National Day. So we think if we have this National Day Parade in Taiwan, maybe it can attract the attention of Norwegian media and also send some positive message to Norwegian people. So we invited Taiwanese and Norwegians in Taiwan, and we have a small parade. And finally, we get on the media of Norway, and also we sent this video to their royal family. And this May, we also have another pictures we created by, we put our President Tsai Ing-wen and the Prime Minister Modi of India together, and they cheers together. They're holding milk tea, because milk tea alliance was quite popular. It's still quite popular in Asia. So this picture was shared in media immediately by 7,000 Indians, and also the media of India has talked a lot about it. Yeah, and Bangladesh and Somaliland we have some online conference this year. And also Czech Republic, they have a delegation representation to Taiwan this year. And we also send we invite 100 Taiwanese to send our greetings to them through social media, and has been on the Instagram of their mayors. And last month, we just finished another event that we invite all the Latinos in Taiwan, and we have a football games around 4,000 people. And finally, it gets around 23 Latino medias, because it is something special that Latinos in Taiwan can still have football game. And we also want to cheer them up and also send our positive energy to Latinos in Latin America. So what I would like to say at the end as a conclusion is that we are a social media generation, and we can do a lot through social media. Just we have to find a common topic, and we should have the curiosity about each other. And I believe that we can conquer the pandemic together. Thank you.
Thank you, Jiayou. And I think everyone can find out there are some really interesting and different perspectives on like the online social connection. Now it's getting more and more popular. Just like Giovanna just mentioned that people actually are facing overburdened situation because of the too much online work. But also, in the meantime, we can also use the social media as a new way to bridge countries and countries. So later on, we will have several rounds of questions to discuss about the main topic, the main theme today. So for all the participants, you can also leave the question in the chat box. If you want to ask some question to our panelists, feel free to leave the question and we will go back to the question in the end. So thank you all for your inspiring sharing again. And I want to ask several questions. Like firstly, since Giovanna just mentioned that the pandemic are influencing countries in different ways. So I wonder, like through your observation, how did pandemic affect the youth in the country you stay right now? And how did the youth tackle the pandemic in different ways? So I would like to invite Sephora. Could you share more like cases and more observation that you observe in the United States, like how the pandemic influenced the local youth?
So I will say, well, I'm originally from the States. I'm currently based in the UK, so I can probably comment a bit more on the UK standpoint, but I think all of us have been watching the US with great worry, of course, because the response has been incredibly limited. I think what I have seen and through friends and through what I've read is that in the US, the COVID pandemic coincided with a lot of upswell of a lot of other movements. We've seen the Black Lives Matter movement emerge in the wake of George Floyd's passing, which, was a combination of anger and a perfect kind of timing because so many people were off from work. They lost their work, they were furloughed. So it gave way to a moment of demonstration, an expression of frustration and anger at the current situation, of course, in an election year, no less. So we saw, obviously, the pandemic issue actually impacted the electoral outcome to a large degree, right? So I think in that way, that's how we saw the manifestation of the impact of the pandemic, I would say, on the younger US population. But from a UK standpoint, what we've seen is an incredible, and I mentioned this in my opening remarks about the volunteering that we've seen. One of our ambassadors, Jemima, she is one of the founding members of Sparehand, which managed to mobilize, it's an AI-based platform that, has made happen 4,000 volunteer hours, matched over 12,000 shifts, over 230 charities using the platform, 1 million meals served. So this is really incredible because, there is this great sense of agency that young people have in terms of, I want to make an impact. There has been a huge shift in that way. But as of course has been mentioned, I mean, the pressure and the mental health ramifications of all of this, for students in particular, because many people who are graduating, hoping to go to university, there was a whole scandal around grades and how people would be, how their future prospects are tied to not taking their exams. And, there's so much confusion, and that kind of confusion and pressure, I think, unfortunately, has set so many kids and children back in terms of where they are in school. Not everyone has equal access to the computers and the internet that they need. And so this digital divide, we will see, continue to emerge. But as has also been mentioned, this idea around friendship and how maybe social media has helped create more of that connectivity. I think it's a paradox. We've never been more connected than before, so you can access so much, but at the same moment, it is creating more and more of a gap between those who have that access and who don't.
Thank you, Sephora. I think that's the reason why you said don't leave anyone behind, and that's a really good reminder to all of us. And then, Lauren?
Thank you, Annie. I was in New York when the pandemic started, and as all of you can imagine, it was pretty scary. It was depressing, and it was just tiring. And as Sephora mentioned and all my fellow panelists, I think there was just a lot of effect and impact in terms of the mental health of young people because of there was just a lot of uncertainty and there was a lot of confusion, like, what am I going to do next? What's going to happen with my life? And like Sephora said, like, even for students, who were just graduating from school, like, they weren't sure of like what's going to happen to me now. But in addition to that, there were also a lot of individuals, including young people in the US, who lost their jobs, which was very unfortunate. And all of that uncertainty really affected young people and their families. And I was living in a house in New York with my fellow colleagues and staff who were from abroad, and we lived together for about 3 months. And I think without them, I would not have been able to survive the pandemic. We had like about eight in total in the house from all around the world. So what we did was we would organize various activities, from cultural dinners, from dances, from singing, even just spending time together. I think was really, really important. That sense of community was really something that was powerful because it tells us that we are not alone. We would share challenges in the morning, telling each other like, what are you going through today? And I think that opportunity to talk to someone in person was very rare during this time. And for those young people who had that opportunity in their houses, I think they really took advantage of that. So they spent more time with their peers or with their family. And what I've also noticed in New York is that a lot of young people actually left New York City. A lot of apartments suddenly became empty, and they started going back to their houses with their families, and either combined, houses with their own friends. It proves ultimately that we're longing to be part of a community, especially a group of people that we can talk to and we can spend time to. And as the pandemic started to um, you know grow and grow in the coming months, it just became even more challenging with the growing uncertainty. And for me, I think it was just really important for young people to be able to spend that time with people that they love the most, someone who is there that they trust and they can rely on, because it was just really difficult and a lot of young people just really didn't want to do. And having the support really was really important.
Oh, we can't hear you, Annie.
Oh, thank you for reminding. So thank you, Lord, for reminding us that a lot of youth are facing depression because of the job are decreasing, disappearing, and a lot of people cannot go to school as their original plans. So I have another question: is if a youth feel anxiety or hopeless or worry about the future because of the pandemic, what would you do to accompany them or to encourage them to face this difficult time? So this question, I think it can go to Jiayou.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I believe everyone has a difficult time during the pandemic because we can only stay at home. In my association, what we are trying to build is to stay connection with the world, even we cannot go to that country. So I think digital diplomacy how they can apply to the youth and how to accompany them during the pandemic is I think everyone can started to look for some fan pages in other countries that has the same interest with you. For example, if you like football, then you can follow the fan page like football in other countries, and to see how other countries' young people talk about this topic. And maybe you can just find someone below a post and just click on his or her Facebook profile and start chatting with them. Because everyone, when we are locked down in our own place, talking to other people is still very important for us. So I think if we are kind of depressed by the pandemic, we can still try to build up new connection with international friends, especially through social media. Thank you.
Thank you, Jiayou. Just like one of our participants, Yiliang, said, he also agreed that social media is a strong tool. Many of his friends learned a lot about Taiwan through this platform. But I also want to ask Giovanna, because since you just mentioned that through the online work, although we can still stay the connection with each other, but we actually also feel overburdened. So what would you suggest or do while you find out that the youth is facing depression because of the pandemic? What would you do?
Penny, for this question, I really think it's quite relevant, and that every one of us could face someone in the surrounding with an issue. I think that next to the social contacts, which are of course very important, I think that in this time it's also very important to go deeper to yourself and try to introspectively work about our feelings, our expectations of life, and so on. So I think it's a very good moment to sometimes even be alone, because in the normal life we didn't have enough time to reflect on some things. So I think that we should use this time also for some self-improvement, to try to see how do we want to see our life, or what would we like to change in our professional goals or in our connections with our friends. So I think this is also very relevant. Next to that, of course, that we should try to be socially active as it's possible via online tools. I also think that this is the right time to strengthen even our previous connections with some people. For instance, from my surrounding, I can say that people are now much strongly connected with their friends from before, because now we have a bit more time to speak to them, to see how they feel, and so on. It's not the case when you have to work or to study and so on, when your day regularly is full of lots of activities. Basically, everything happens like a flow, everyday flow, where you have to finish some kind of your commitments, but you definitely don't have time for some deeper talks with your friends or with yourself. So I think it's quite relevant that we use this time quite in a beneficial way, and try to make our plans for future, try to obtain maybe some new skills, or maybe improve ourselves in some levels that we want. It could be reading books, it could be reading some specific topic on some things that we are interested in. I think that it also gives you a very good impression that you use your time in the right way. Next to that, of course, that we have to set some boundaries, because I think that the online tools are trying sometimes to get us into the bubble of that. And I think that it could be also an issue. So basically, I think that every single young person wants to be active and wants to be in every event that is offered today. And there are many things that are offered online, but I think also that we have to make some boundaries and to actually try to find a way what is important for us, and then to participate there, and then also to have some time to rest, because if we are not rested enough, emotionally rested as well, I don't think that we can contribute in a very good way.
Thank you, Giovanna. It's really, to me personally, it's also a new practice to learn how to be alone, how to reorganize our life priorities. So this is also really a good opportunity for all of us to rethink about what life we want to live in. So I saw a question from our participants. People are asking, there are so many platforms and so many needs in the world. Like, so for each one of you, from your perspective, do you suggest any method or any technology that we can use or we can implement to contribute other countries? So I think he's really eager to help from his side or her side to other countries. So in your perspective, what would you suggest a youth, a single person, to contribute the other countries through any approach, any method? So Sephora, do you have any suggestion that how we can engage in this global partnership?
Yeah, I think it's been mentioned obviously a few times by Jiayou as well, because given her work. But I think we because of these tools that we have, I think, content creation and, trusted information actually is incredibly valuable these days. And I would just say, someone mentioned, how do we make sure people actually wear their masks, and how, there's so much misinformation out there, and the internet is obviously an incredibly liberating and free place, but at the same moment, it has a danger to it as well, right? So it needs to be used responsibly. And I just urge everybody to use the tools that we have responsibly, because every single individual creates a ripple effect with everything they post, everything they share. And I think people need to be a lot more discerning about how they use these tools, because they are incredibly powerful. There are so many exciting developments that are happening out there in terms of, what can one individual create? Well, there's so many new tools that people are trying to code and design and make, and you can do this from sitting anywhere. You can do it from your bedroom. And so I think, using the tools that are at our disposal to create positive impacts and change, I think, are super important.
Thank you, Sephora. And Lord, do you have any suggestion, like browsing your website and joining the blog, or do you have any other suggestion that for all of us who want to do more?
Thank you, Annie. First, I wanted to invite anyone who's interested to join the World Youth Alliance. It's for free, so that's a plug to join the organization. Second, I wanted to really draw a lesson again from one of the blogs that I mentioned in the presentation earlier. I think it's really important to, in terms of demonstrating solidarity, with people we know, like our loved ones, but even with people we don't know. This spirit of solidarity is really important because as we've talked a lot in this webinar, there's a lot of challenges, being faced by young people today. And so one of the best ways to do that is really to work together. But I also wanted to say that it is important for young people to be kind to themselves. I know that it's not easy being in the pandemic right now, but more importantly, I think it's important for us to be kind to other people. I really like this quote that says, if we're going to put all of our problems in a pile and we see the problems of other people, we definitely want to get our problem back. There are a lot of things that other people are experiencing today, and I think we are demanding a lot. We demand from our government, we demand from our friends, all these different things, like, why aren't you wearing your mask? Why aren't you using social media responsibly? And one of the things that we teach Waya in our certified training program from Gandhi's text is that, if you want to see change, you have to start with yourself. So, if you want more young people to be responsible with the use of social media, then you have to start with yourself. Like, ask yourself, how many hours do you actually use in terms of social media? Like, do you actually talk to the people who matter to you, or do you just browse into celebrities or people who you haven't met yet? So I think we have to examine ourselves first before we demand, so that people can be inspired and encouraged that it's actually possible.
Thank you, Lord. Since we only have 2 minutes left, so I want to ask the last question, and I think it's a very important question. I will explain better. So the last question is, if you can travel back to the moment before the outbreak, so what's the first thing you would do personally, not in the organization level? What would you do? So how about just start from Lord, like only one thing?
I would bring all my friends together in my apartment and give them all very big hugs, because I won't be able to give them hugs anymore after the pandemic.
Okay, thank you, Lord. And how about Giovanna? What would you do?
I would definitely also be gathered with all the really important people in my life, like friends and family. But I also think that if we are anticipating some other issues we can face in future, it's very important to take care about our health and try to do whatever we can to improve it. Does it mean that to have a bit less kilograms if we are overweight, or try to do the regular checkups. I just think that now we face the situation that we have to be healthiest as we can in order to get over with this virus. So I think it's as a doctor as I am, I really have to tell you, like, take care about your health and think how to improve it in the future times.
Okay, thank you, Giovanna, and 加油. How about you?
I think I would I would pack my luggage earlier in Vietnam, because last year I was in Vietnam to do our project. So this year we just pack up everything very quickly and came back to Taiwan before the border closing. So I would pack my luggage earlier. Yeah.
Very practical. Thank you, Jayo. And Sephora, how about you? What would you do?
I would do everything everyone else has said and just see my grandparents more.
Okay, cool. Thank you for all your wonderful and inspiring sharing. So today we know that before the pandemic happened, we probably should do like providing more free hugs to our friends, to the ones we loved, or taking better care about our own health, and staying tuned with our grandparents, our families, our relatives. That's all really important. That could be most of us, that might be the top priority to our lives. So in the end of the webinar, since there was someone asked that, will we upload this webinar to any other platform? Yes, we do. So after the webinar ended, we will upload this video to YouTube. So you can still check the video if you missed the previous part of our webinar. So if you want to check the video before, please just go check on Google Global Youth Trend Forum or Global Youth Trend webinar. You can find this video online again, and feel free to share this video with all your friends and all the people that you care about. So thank you again for all the inspiring sharing, and hope to see you again in person, face to face in the near future. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.
Thank you.